Welcome to the Circuit of Success. I am your host, Brett Gilliland. Today, I've got Olympic athlete Annie Kunz. How you doing, Annie?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's so good to have you. You are, we just did a little talking before we started recording here. You're back in the grind now, back in the saddle, getting ready for the qualifying for the next Olympics and World Championships and all that stuff, right?
Yep. I'm back on the grind. I went on vacation, and so I feel like I was good. I kind of got my mind right and ready to get after it and jump back in the saddle.
I love it. I love it. Well, you are I guess they call them heptathletes. Is that the proper way to say this? Heptathlete?
Yes, well done. Most people mess that up at least twice. So well done.
Okay. Okay. Well, I've got, on my wall, what you don't see over here is a great quote. It says, "I didn't train to be the second best. I trained to be the best." And it's, you've probably heard of this person. It's called, her name is Jackie Joyner Kersey.
I have heard of her.
Yes. You probably have heard of her in your profession. So she lives here close to us, has been on the podcast a few times, and dear friend. She's just awesome. And so
awesome.
I've got a picture of her up there that says that. I didn't train to be second best. I trained to be the best. I love that.
She's amazing. I work with her brother Al all the time. He's been like my biggest fan, and he's down at the center and has helped me tremendously over the years. So I love that family.
Very cool. Well, I'll have to tell her that. That's awesome. So, well, you are, like I said, Olympic athlete in the heptathlon. For those that don't know, that is 7 disciplines, not just going out and running one race. You're doing 7 different things, which is amazing. We'll dive into that. I got to say this. You went to Texas A&M. You are an Aggie. We got some friends. We got some families that are Aggies, so they will love that. You guys do some sort of symbol thing. I don't know what you do, but you do. Yeah, there you go.
It means a lot.
Okay. I thought they did something different, but maybe I'm wrong. And then you were in I call it the 2020, but really the 2021 Summer Olympics for Tokyo with COVID. So, but why don't you, if you can, Annie, just kind of give us a little background on what's made you the woman you are today and that desire to go to the level that you've gone to.
Yeah. So I started both track and soccer when I was pretty much since I could walk. I was 2 and my mom threw me in the 50-yard dash. My siblings were like 8.5 and 10 years older. So I got dragged in, and I was tall for my age. So I got thrown in the 50-yard dash when I was 2 years old. And then I started soccer when I was 3 years old. So I've done both track and soccer through my career up until my 5th year at A&M. So I did both in college, and soccer was actually my primary sport up until I was about 22 years old.
Wow.
So I was a soccer player, team sport girl. I loved it. I thought I was going to go pro after college. My coaches really encouraged me to redshirt a year to go from spring soccer into our senior fall. We knew we were going to be good that year. We wanted to make a run for Final Four for the first time in college in school history. And we ended up doing that. I redshirted. I took a year off of track. And then, so the year after that is where I really fell in love with track and field all over again, and kind of opened my eyes to the potential that was there that I didn't really realize. It was the first time in my life I just dedicated all of my time and effort into track and field. Prior, I was always the soccer girl that did track, that kind of jumped in here and there, and my money was for soccer. And so that year I qualified for the Rio Olympic trials. Didn't expect to do so. I think I was 22nd going in, ended up finishing 8th overall, and got recruited from there to move out to California and train full time to try to make the Tokyo team. And so I've been out here ever since, and wouldn't change a thing. And it's been a bumpy, crazy, amazing journey that I wouldn't trade for anything.
That's awesome. I didn't realize, I guess when I did my research, I just looked at the track part. I didn't know.
Yeah,
the
most people
part.
don't
That's
now,
really cool.
which is so funny, because I was known as the soccer girl for so long, and now people are like, "Hey, you did soccer."
Yeah. That's funny. So you missed the soccer?
I do. I miss parts of it. I love, the team. There's something about team sports and winning as a team that's so special. And some of my best friends to this day are from soccer. So I think I miss that aspect of it. Games are always fun, but I'm much happier as a whole in track and field.
Yeah. So explain to us people that don't do the heptathlon every single day. What are the 7 sports? What's that discipline? What do you enjoy? What's the toughest for you? All that stuff.
So the heptathlon is split over 2 days. Day 1 is the 100-meter hurdles, the high jump, shot put, and the 200. And then you switch gears on day 2 and go do long jump javelin in the 800. In high school, I did the hurdles, I did the jumps, I was throwing the 4x2, so they thought I'd be a good heptathlete. Had no idea what the 800 was, or until my first first heptathlon in my freshman year at A&M, and I was like, what did I get myself into? So the 800 is definitely my least favorite, and I'm pretty sure that's like a unanimous thing within the heptathlon. No one looks forward to the 800. It's just one of the hardest races there is.
Especially if you're used to being a sprinter, right? And then to go out there,
right.
Now I got to run a long distance. It's a totally different deal.
I'm not an endurance girl. Like it's not in my genes. So I definitely have to work a lot harder to get better at that event. It doesn't come naturally whatsoever. So that's
soccer probably help with that though. I mean, you're running nonstop in soccer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they definitely complement each other, track and field and soccer. But I failed my fitness test in soccer like 3 out of the 4 years. So it's not like I'm crushing it in the endurance category. And then my best event is shot put. Actually, I broke Jackie's shot put Olympic trials record this year, which was cool. I never thought I could break any of her records. So to have one of them is pretty cool to me, because I've just, that's a name that as a heptathlete, it feels untouchable. So that was super cool. And then probably my favorites are hurdles and long jump. Long jumps definitely become a new love of mine for sure in the heptathlon.
Very cool. So let's talk about this now, this grind or whatever we want to call it, right? This journey that you're on to get to another Olympics. I mean, that is something for me. People listen to the show know I like to talk about mindset and the grind and daily habits and disciplines and all that stuff. And I can't think of a more disciplined thing than you athletes that are waiting every 4 years to get you get moments, right? You get the world championships, but the moment, right? Like your quote unquote Super Bowl is every 4 years.
Right.
And so what is that like mentally and physically to do the grind for that long?
Man, it's a grind. Let me tell you. It's a lot of saying no to things. It's a lot of, missing events that you wouldn't, like weddings or just things with friends on the weekends. And it's a lot of saying no. It's a lot of sacrifice. And not only for me, but like my family too. My boyfriend is every step of the way. It's a total collaboration thing. Like it's a lot of sacrifice. But in that, I feel like I have grown in a way that I never would have before, going through this process and this journey and learning resiliency, learning grit, learning discipline, learning how to behave my way to success, even when I don't feel like it. So I think
I love that comment.
Yeah, those are things that, sometimes you don't learn in life. And I'm just super grateful to have an experience like training for the Olympics and making this team that have taught me those life lessons. It's like I learned it trying to get this goal, but those are lessons that'll take with me my entire life when I get a job next and with my family and my relationship. So it's really just taught me these foundational things that I'm super grateful for.
Yeah. So when you say behave your way to success, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, gosh, I mean, there are days when you wake up and you're like, I don't feel like going on this run right now. I don't feel like eating healthy right now. I don't feel like being positive and, motivating myself today. But you just have to have systems in place that get you there, because you can't listen to your feelings all the time. Because I always say, like, emotions are liars. You can't believe them. Half the time they're just lying to you. Wow, that's
great.
So and I've worked a lot with that with my mental coach this last year and a half, to kind of change my thinking and put myself in that mentality where you kind of accept that you're not going to feel great every day. You're not going to feel like doing certain things every day. But if you behave your way to success, you put systems in place. Okay, I have this routine. I'm going to have my supplements. I'm going to meal plan. I'm going to have this. I'm going to eat this, even if I don't really feel like it right now. I'm going to show up at practice and I'm going to step on the line and I'm going to give it all I have. And I don't feel like doing it today. You just kind of have to accept that and behave your way, even when you don't want to.
Yeah. I think that's the thing I always think about for you. I mean, it's like literally you have a 4-year journey of, you can't go have the 5 or 6 beers and a large pepperoni pizza, right? Like I'm assuming that over that 4-year period is not in the diet.
Yeah.
Is that a fair statement, or do you
Yeah.
have
I mean,
the cheat day every now and then?
Yeah, I have a cheat day every week. So on the weekends I'll have my
Okay.
cheat meal to kind of keep you sane. You kind of have to have a little bit of balance in that. I have dark chocolate like, almost every night, which is probably not the best, but but like I have little things here and there that keep me sane, because if you go too strict, it'll drive you nuts, and it might push you to like go the opposite and just be like, okay, screw this, I'm gonna go binge or whatever. So I think you need balance. But drinking, I go 9 months out of the year without taking a sip of alcohol. And I think, alcohol is something I think people abuse. And I've learned how to have fun without it because of this. And I go 9 months out of the year without it. I'm like, gosh, I don't even need that anymore. I feel so much better without it. So I'm almost grateful for that, because I have a lot of friends that are in these habits that are not healthy that, I just kind of have avoided because of what I do.
Yeah, your Saturday mornings feel a little different than some other people.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm way more productive. Like those days that I have a couple of glasses of wine, like, this is not worth it.
Yeah, this. I feel terrible now. This is great. And you said emotions are liars. I've never heard that, and I absolutely love that, because it is true. And I say this on this show all the time, but also in the business world. People sometimes act like, oh, I just get up every day, I'm so fired up and passionate about what I do. And I don't know. Sometimes I don't call BS to them on here, but it's like, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. Cause I love what I do for a living. Right. But there are still days where it's tough and you got to get up. So whether you're on the track and, you're on the track or you're in the boardroom, there are moments that you got to fight through it. So what are those things, like hacks, whatever you want to call them? Are those things that you do? Is it something you've written down? Is it just ingrained in you because the mission of going to the Olympics? Like, what is it that gets you through the days you don't want to do it?
I definitely through the months, like as preparing for the Olympics and the trials and everything, I really grounded myself through meditation. Like daily morning meditations would really kind of just set my intentions for the day. And even when I'm not feeling like it would kind of be like, okay, well, like, what are my goals? Like, what am I working towards here? Like, how can I get there today? Even though I don't feel like it, like, what are the systems I can put in place today to get there, even though I'm not really feeling it? And that just kind of grounds you and allows you to be more present in what you're doing that day. I think a lot of times, what takes us out of the moment we're in is like, anxieties of the future or thinking about the past. And that kind of puts you in that depression state or that down state. So really learning how to become present in the moment I'm in has been integral to my success and that mindset every day, even when I don't feel like it. And meditation is really what my mental coach and I kind of base all of our training around. And then I also do like a gratitude journal. So every morning I wake up and I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. And that kind of puts things in perspective too, to be like, okay, life is not too bad. Like buck up and let's just get after it. That kind of puts things in perspective and helps ground me as well. So gratitude is a thing that is pretty foundational in my mindset and kind of puts me in the right headspace on those days.
Yeah. So I love that, because it's so many people come on here and people hear me say it all the time is, think about it. The 2 things you're talking about is meditation and gratitude. Those aren't necessarily in and of themselves hard things to do, right? You're not saying go run 10 miles that way and come back and swim for 4 hours, right? It's meditation. But as a meditator myself, it is extremely difficult for me. Like it was. Now I love it. But that 5 minutes sometimes felt like 5 hours.
Oh, I'm the same way. And it's one of those things that you kind of like, you're kind of dreading. Like, you're like, okay, like, I know I don't feel like doing this. Like, I know I should, but I don't really want to. And then you do it and you're like, damn, that was the best thing I could have done for myself today. Yeah. Like it was tough, but it's also like you're growing in those moments and learning how to just sit and be still with yourself is really challenging. And so I think when you can kind of learn to love that and see what it does for you, it honestly has been probably the most important key to my success this last year. And I don't think I would have made the Olympic team prior to COVID because I hadn't worked on all that. I hadn't had my mental coach.
It's amazing.
I learned how to become present in the moment I'm in. I would get caught, especially with the heptathlon, you get so caught up in, dang, I missed this there, or that event didn't go well. And I'm in this other event. I'm thinking about the previous one that I messed up, and it takes me out of the event I'm in. And it can just be kind of a snowball effect there. So that has been so integral to just my success in the last year.
Yeah. And it's great to hear you say that I would assume most people hear me say this about meditation, but to hear an Olympic athlete say, I would not be on the Olympic team if it wasn't for meditation. Like if that's not enough, like, hey, dude, driving down the road, go do it. Right. And then it's not weak if you're just sitting there breathing. So I would ask you this, what does that process look like for you? Are you following an app? Do you have like a breathing machine thing you're doing? Like, what are you using to get through that?
So I'm going to start, I haven't started up this season yet. I'll start up with my, my mental coach probably in the next couple of weeks or so, but I do once a week minimum on like big meet weeks. I at least work with him twice a week. And like an hour session, we start with the meditation, and the beginning was more just foundational stuff, learning about meditation. It was kind of like a 6-week course on meditation is what it felt like, to kind of give me the basis of everything. Okay. And then we would start each session with a meditation, either led by him. Sometimes he would make me lead it, which is also really challenging and something that I would encourage to do, but it's also uncomfortable, and learning how to be uncomfortable and figure that out was really interesting. And then we kind of talked through just things that are popping up within practice or my meets or whatever, and kind of talk through that. And he's just helped me with my way of thinking and learning how to be present in each moment. And then personally, every morning I wake up and do like a 5 to 10 minute meditation through Insight Timer is what I typically use. That's what my mental coach gave me. I've used Headspace, but I like Insight Timer a little bit more. Yep. And then I do my gratitude list. And then it's honestly, I am constantly working through being present. And it's not just a thing that you show up and on a meet day, you are going to do this. It's every single day in training, every single rep. I'm sitting there, I'm going through my routine. I'm working on my breath. I'm doing my visualization. I'm clearing my mind. I'm grounding myself in that moment to execute as best as I can. And so it's definitely a thing that doesn't really turn off, which I'm super grateful for, because now I've learned to be more present in my life outside of track too, in my relationship with my friends, with experiences. So it's something that I think you put those systems in place like every morning, and it just becomes a part of your life and how you live.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a journal. It's right over there. Actually, I would grab it, but I've got a weekly, kind of a scorecard type thing, a daily thing I go through, a 90-day thing. And I think the uniqueness or the specialty of that thing is doing it daily.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like, I'll do it Monday and then I won't do it again until next Thursday and sporadically. And I think that's to your point. But one of the things I use, I don't know if you've ever heard of this thing or not, but it's called Aerofit, AIROFIT.
No, I haven't.
It's actually a breathing thing. You put it in your mouth, and like it's like you can dial it up to make it harder to inhale or harder to exhale.
Oh wow!
And I'm telling you, I've been doing this thing for about 3 months now, and it is unbelievable how my level of breathing, deep breathing, has gotten better on meditation just through doing it. So check it out. It's and I don't get paid to say that. I literally has been a game changer for me. I've been one of these people. It's like short of breath. And I think it's because I'm just always moving. Well, not only the meditation, but that slowing down. And now it's harder for me to breathe in. Well, I'm having to take deeper breaths. So it's actually strengthening the muscles in my, my lungs and everywhere else.
Super interesting. I'm definitely have to check that out, because I do breath work with my mental coach a lot. And like, we just different types of breathing for different circumstances and stuff like that. So that sounds super interesting. I'll check that out.
Yeah. Aerofit, AIROFIT. And then there's an app and the app walks you through like when to take a deep breath, when to hold your breath, when to hyperventilate, when to, all this stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. Cool. So maybe one day they'll pay me to say that, but right now they're not. Anyway, so let's talk about accountability. I mean, let's be clear, right? Sometimes you aren't just going to show up if it was just you, right? But you've talked about your mental coach. You've probably got running coaches and shot put coaches and all these things, right? Yeah. So how important is accountability in our lives?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's everything. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to look in the mirror and figure out if you're doing the things that you need to do to get to where you want to go. And so it's really easy to point the finger and come up with excuses. It's really freaking easy to do that. And I can say that from experience. Before, I used to be I used to lack a ton of accountability. And I think that was my Achilles heel in becoming successful. And so I think for the first time in my life where this really hit home and I learned that lesson was when COVID hit, because for the first time in my life, I'm out here with no coach, no one telling me what to do. We can't get into gyms. There's a lot of easy ways out to be like, well, I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that. And I didn't. I really learned for the first time how badly I wanted this dream of mine. And I wasn't going to fall behind because of my circumstances. And so that was when I was out there every single day through COVID by myself, completely pushing myself for the first time in my life. And it made all the difference in the world to get me to jump ahead of the girls that I've been chasing for so long. Like I said, I was a soccer girl that played track. So I switched my mentality during COVID to be like, okay, what can I do with this time? Like I can get so much better in this time. And this might be a time where other girls are maybe falling off or not pushing themselves as hard. And I don't want to be one of those people. So it's like, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to be accountable for my time, and I'm going to use it to get better. And I did. And it's been a huge lesson in accountability and how far that can take you.
Yeah. Let's talk back as a kid, right? Junior high, high school, all that stuff. I'm quite a bit older than you. I'm 44 years old. And so sports were different when I was a kid, right? In junior high and high school than I think they are now. And so having 4 boys, it just seems like we're on this constant, got to be on this select team and you got to go to there and then that sport's over, and it's just nonstop. Right. And so talk to us parents of things that maybe your parents did well or didn't do well. I think they probably did do well. I read your dad may have a Super Bowl championship in his house as well for the Raiders. But talk to us about that. What do we need to do as parents now to prepare our kids for the future through sports?
It is. I mean, even from when I was in middle school and high school, I feel like it's changed tremendously. It's become more intense. Kids are kind of pigeonholed into one sport super young. And I didn't really have to face that until college. So I think that's challenging because I look back at my childhood and I was such a well-rounded athlete because I did everything. I did tennis, I did golf, I did soccer, I did track, I did dance. I literally did everything. And when I look back at my parents and how they kind of helped guide me, they allowed me to make every decision for myself. They never pressured me one way or the other. They asked me what I wanted. And I had other friends who their parents made those decisions for them and they kind of resented them for it later. And they didn't love what they were doing because of that. And so I'm really grateful for that support where they allowed me to kind of be independent and make my own decisions, whether it was college, whether it was I wanted to give up dance, whether I wanted to do both sports still. They were like, okay, like we'll figure out a way to make this work if that's what you want. If you want to do both. They were in the same season in Colorado, track and soccer. So it was a juggling match. It was really hard to balance, but they just supported me every step of the way. And for that, I'm super, super grateful. And I just got really lucky. They allowed me to make decisions for myself. And I think that's what kind of allowed me to stay motivated. And I never felt like I was doing it for anyone else but myself.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great feedback. What do you do with the negative thinking? How do you overcome that?
So this is something I think has been super helpful for me, where before I used to switch it from negative to positive thinking. And I think that's bullshit. To be completely blunt and honest.
I love it. Tell me more.
It doesn't work for me. I'm not one of those people that, can kind of fake the positivity. I really have switched it to just accepting whatever is in that moment. If I'm not happy about this, whatever circumstance I'm in, or this rep we have to do, I'm like, all right, this sucks. And I'm going to accept that, but it's going to get me better. I don't have to switch my thinking to be like, okay, this is the best day ever. I'm so excited about this rep. It's like, just be accepting of whatever moment you're in, and then switch your focus to executing. So it's like, I think a lot of times I used to get stuck, especially in like hard workouts, like thinking about, God, this sucks. Like I'm like, like this rep is hard. I'm tired. I'm whatever. And when you kind of stay in that mindset, it takes you out of executing. Whereas now I'm like, okay, pain is setting in. That's okay. That's normal. That's to be expected. Switch my focus to executing. So I'm like, okay, focus on my arms, focus on my breath. So really just accepting things as they come and not trying so hard to switch it into this like positive mindset when you're not feeling that. It's really just staying neutral. A lot of like Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, and that neutral mindset is kind of where I've switched my thinking. And it's been really, really helpful.
Have you read the book? Speaking of that, where's it at? Hang on.
It Takes What It Takes.
It Takes What It Takes. Yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. And
that's so good, isn't it?
It's so good. And just staying neutral and a lot of that's kind of like, they go hand in hand, the meditation stuff and the acceptance and staying neutral, I feel like is pretty much the same thing. Yeah. And that's kind of where I try to keep myself and not get too high either. Like when things are going well, you really just got to stay neutral and stay in the moment you're in, because emotions can take you on this roller coaster. And I try to just accept them as they come and then switch my focus.
Yeah, that author just passed away. Did you know that?
I know. Sad.
It's terrible.
So sad. I didn't even know anything was going on. So that's really a big bummer. I feel like he's touched so many lives though, for sure. So
yeah, it was cool. Russell Wilson put his name and stuff on his shoes. I don't know if you saw that during the NFL game. That was pretty awesome.
We're a big Seahawks fan over here. So
okay.
That, yeah.
Very cool. So what would it be? So obviously working out and stuff like that, but, and again, yes, you are an Olympic athlete and you're at the top of the food chain from a health standpoint. But for those of us like me, who, everybody listen to this, mostly business people, we're not training for the Olympics.
Right.
But what are some things that we need to focus on from an intake, food, like anything there that you could share that you think is helpful for the everyday person?
Yeah. I mean, I'm super passionate about nutrition, and just because I've seen what it's done for my body, I typically follow a grain-free diet, grain-free, dairy-free, soy-free, and corn-free. So those, and so like no gluten, nothing. It's almost like the caveman diet. I'm like, if anyone follows me, like I joke that red meat is my love language. So I'm like a huge advocate for red meat. When I started working with a metabolic analyst, about, it was 2019. And in 6 weeks she switched. And at that time I thought I was in pretty good shape. I thought I was eating pretty healthy, but I was always tired. Like I would get to warm up on the day, I'm like just dragging and just not feeling the energy that I needed. And when I started working with her in 6 weeks, I lost like 5% body fat in just 6 weeks, which I didn't even realize was there to lose. Like I thought I was in pretty good shape, but I just got like chiseled and strong, and my energy levels just jumped tremendously. I just felt fueled properly. I was recovering better. And so she kind of what she does is she figures out like where your hormone deficiencies are and what your hormone imbalances are, what you're deficient in, and then puts you like on a protocol that's pretty much like the caveman. It's like paleo basically. But it's the way you eat and how you eat and when you eat. So I mean, for breakfast, I eat like a ribeye or a sirloin or
a
New York strip. I swear to you.
That's what you're eating at 7:30 in the morning or whatever time you eat in the morning.
I wake up and my mouth waters. Like it's weird at first. Like I promise it takes a few weeks to kind of get into it. But now I'm like, I crave meat in the morning. But it gets that protein up, and then eggs oftentimes cause inflammation. So it gets my protein my protein that I was needing. I was not eating enough protein. So I would say anyone that's not feeling great, up your protein, because I just felt like light years better with my energy. And then she has me have nuts and then berries, or like raspberries, blackberries, blueberries. I have macadamia nuts, and then kind of switching up what you're eating every day. So like people that eat the same thing every single day is going to cause a lot of inflammation. So I try to mix it up, and kind of rotate things. So I'm not having the exact same thing every single day.
And so what are you eating with your steak in the morning?
I have like a handful of macadamia nuts and some raspberries. That was what I had this morning. Some macadamia nuts, some raspberries. I drink my coffee after I eat because it's better for digestion. And then I take a ton of supplements. I take like probably 13 pills in the morning and like 8 at night, probably. Wow. Magnesium, zinc, just a multivitamin, stuff for recovery. I could talk for days about all this stuff, but
I'm still blown away that you're eating steak for breakfast. That's
you can follow my metabolic analyst though. She's like at Fast Over 40, and she
at Fast Over 40.
Yeah, she's incredible. And her doctor, if he can't figure out what's wrong with people, sends them to her because she's just incredible.
This is CM Monteleone.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Cynthia Monteleone. So
she just
she's
got a new
incredible,
follow.
and yeah, she will do her neighbors. She does Olympic athletes. She does everything. And so if you're looking for some kind of help in that category, it's everything just specific to you and what your body needs. Everyone's so different. So I think that's what works the best for me. And I've seen, I mean, a ton of my success is because of her.
So you can work with her and not even be, I'm not in wherever she looks like she's maybe in Maui or something.
Yeah, she's in Maui, but a lot of times she'll come out to the States every now and then, but a lot of times you can just send her like your blood work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
She can figure out what's going on.
God, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's a rider downer. She's going to also be asked to be on the Circuit of Success podcast.
Heck yeah. She's incredible.
So I always ask this, Annie, to people is how many of the fears you've put in your mind have actually blown up to the magnitude you put them in your mind to be?
Oh gosh. That's funny you say that, because I'm an overthinker. I am like, I'm going to go in these rabbit holes, and that's just kind of like my personality. That's who I am. And I, even just leading up to the Olympic trials, that was the biggest topic we talked about for weeks, was this fear of not making the Olympic team, and how I was gripping on so tightly to this, like to not the fear of not achieving that goal. It was detrimental to me. I struggled with it for weeks prior to the Olympic trials. And when I finally just let go of that fear and allowed myself to just accept whatever was going to come, like I knew in my heart, I had given everything I had. I ate right. I sacrificed. I worked my butt off, and whatever was going to happen was going to happen. But I was gripping on so tight because of that fear that it was getting in the way. And so letting go of that it honestly allowed me to make the Olympic team and win the Olympic trials.
Win the Olympic trials, not just make the team. You won the Olympic trials.
Yeah. And I really think it because 2 days before I had this moment where like 3 months, it felt like my mental coach was talking to me about how I was gripping on so tight to this dream. And I'm like, but how do I let go of that? Like, I've been working for this for 5 years. How am I supposed to just let go of that expectation and let go and just let whatever happens? And I finally did. I was able to like truthfully do that in my heart, and I accepted whatever's going to come. And I was able to then just be present and not be in that, have those anxiety and that fear taking over my mind while I'm trying to compete and execute. And it's like and you look back and it's like, when does anyone ever look back and be like, dang, I'm really glad I worried about that. Like that was so worth it. That no one looks back and like, point. Oh, that anxiety was worth it. That worrying about that fear was totally awesome use of my time. Like, no.
And it totally came true too, because it didn't, I mean, all the things, and that's what most people talk about is they never, I mean, sometimes sure they do, but rarely does it ever come true to the magnitude you put it up there to be, right?
Right, exactly. And it's like, you can't sit here and try to predict the future. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. All you have is the moment you're in right now. So fears can feel paralyzing and hard to let go of. But when you finally learn how to, it's really liberating, honestly.
I love that. So what do you wish you had more time to do right now? So obviously the grind that you're on, what are the passions that are out there for you?
Oh man. I wish I had a little bit more time to coach or to work with younger girls and younger athletes. My time right now is I'm trying to work with the high school nearby, but sorry, that's my dog. Sorry. Like, hold on, let me put it outside. I'm so sorry. I have a new puppy and she's not trained very well.
I understand.
But yeah, I wish if I had more time, I wish I could work with younger girls, younger athletes, and kind of, I just feel like I've learned so much in even just the last 2 years in my career that I wish I would have known when I was even in high school and college, because it would have made my life a lot easier. And I feel like I would have been able to just have a better mindset and know, and even just nutrition, things like that are really hard to come by. Even I've had so many nutritionists in my life that honestly weren't that helpful until I met Cynthia. And so even just things I've learned through that, I would love to give back to the younger kids and younger generations and try to help them get further quicker.
I love it. So are you taking notes and writing all this stuff down that's in your brain now? Because that's what you're going to give on to the next generation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to coach people, right? Are you writing all that stuff down?
Oh, I would love to. I would love to coach. That's, yeah, I think I would love to do that for sure.
So talk to us about this new brand that you represent, Amorpho. Am I saying that correctly? Amorpho,
Yeah,
which is Greek for beautiful.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So unbelievably grateful for this company. Especially in a smaller sport like track and field, and it being a heptathlete, the exposure isn't quite there as much. So sponsorships are rare. And I was unsponsored up until, the Olympics, basically.
Wow.
I was an unsponsored athlete just trying to make do. And the grind is really, really tough.
Can I interrupt you real quick on that? So if it's okay to talk about this, I mean, so an unsponsored athlete means you literally are self-funding you going to the Olympics versus somebody paying you to train. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, 100%. So I was at the training center, so I didn't have a ton of expenses. Like my insurance was covered. We get like a couple meals a day. And then our travel was partially covered. So I had a little bit of help, but yeah, for the most part, I was putting myself through paying for everything to support myself for 5 years on this journey to make the team. I didn't have that financial support until I accomplished that goal. So to finally have,
talk about putting your money where your mouth is at.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean, that teaches you too. It's like, gosh, I'm not making money. Like I really do love this. And it teaches you a lot about yourself, but, and what hard work and all of those things. But I'm just super grateful because it is so tough. We're out there from, 10 a.m. to 4. So to find a part-time job is pretty hard with what I do. So just to have that base where I can have a little bit of support to continue to pursue this and not have that anxiety of, paying the grocery bill is super amazing. And they're just an amazing company. It's just, a lot of times you get lost in the crowd and you're not valued as an athlete. And it really feels like a partnership with these guys. They want our feedback. They were a huge part of the company. And so I'm just super grateful for them. It's a startup company, but it's so innovative. It's weighted workout apparel, so you can get more resistance without losing mobility in your workouts, burn more calories, things like that. So I've been wearing it every day since I got all of my stuff, and I am just stoked to see what it does for me. I'm excited.
So I'm looking at their Instagram page right now. So these, cool t-shirts, all these athletes working out, those shirts are weighted.
Yeah. So it's
to make it harder for you to.
So the little beads that you see are micro loaded, anywhere from like 1 to 5 pounds, I think, are the pieces. And, it's just super innovative and cool. And I'm surprised it's not out there already, but I'm just grateful to be part of it. And it's honestly super intriguing too, just the science behind it all.
That's awesome. So they are former Nike executives, right?
Yeah. Yep. They are. So they may
know a thing or two about athletic apparel. They've done okay.
Sure.
They've done just fine. What advice would you have for those listening right now? Any advice that if you look back, you could tell yourself, that 5-7 years ago person, that Annie that was worried about this Olympic run, and now here you are, and now you're on the next Olympic run. What advice would you give her, and then continue to state to yourself right now?
Man, I would say, patience, just be patient. A lot of time, there was just months and years even where you have all this self-doubt, wondering if, you're made out to do what you're doing and, if it's worth it or not. And so I would say patience and be present in the moment you're in, because no matter what, even if I didn't make the Olympic team, learning to be present has been such a liberating thing in my life. And every moment that you come across is going to make you better. You're going to grow in some way. And even if I didn't make the Olympic team, I've become a completely different Annie because of that journey.
Yep.
So I would just say, be patient and enjoy the moment that you're in, and try to just have fun, because I think a lot of times I get too serious, and life is not too serious. You just got to smile and have fun and be grateful for every moment that comes your way. And so I'm hoping to integrate those lessons that I would tell my younger self on this run for Paris.
It's funny you say that. My business partner, Tim Hammett, and I, we always talk about laughing. Like you just got to laugh more, have fun. You know, it doesn't mean laugh like you're goofing off and not taking things serious, but let's have some fun while we're doing this too. We're on a business journey, but let's enjoy that. Let's have a lot of fun. Let's have a lot of laughter and enjoy the moment.
For sure.
Is, tough to do.
That's why you get into this stuff in the first place, because you love it and you have fun with it. And so I guess you have to remind yourself of that sometimes.
So where would you recommend our listeners go to find more of Annie Kunz?
Oh man. Well, my Instagram, I'm Annie_Kunz7. And then my Twitter is just Annie_Kunz. And then I feel like a geriatric trying to get involved in this TikTok stuff.
I know. My kids just got me on TikTok literally like a week ago. I'm like, I'm terrible at this and I don't understand it.
Exactly. I feel the exact same way. So bear with me. But if you do want to bear with me and be patient with me on TikTok, I'm Annie Kunz 6703 on there. So those are the three main ones that I'm on.
I will put it on there right now. I'll go find you. We'll be TikTok friends.
All right, perfect. We'll learn along the way.
That's right. That's right. Well, Annie, it's been awesome having you on the Circuit of Success. Tons of takeaways for me, a couple pages of notes here. And I love the fact that you talked about you can't always listen to your emotions. Emotions are liars. The importance of accountability, the daily no miss of meditation and gratitude. Just three things, right? Three things that you're thankful for, as we have so much to be blessed. So I appreciate you sharing all that wisdom with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my story.